They're arguing about whether to kill me in Italian, and I can smell my own blood. The zip ties have cut so deep into my wrists that warm wetness is spreading down my palms, making my fingers slick. Every time the van hits a pothole, and Queens has nothing but potholes, the plastic teeth saw deeper into flesh. The pain is white-hot, blinding, the kind that makes your stomach heave and your vision go spotty even through the black hood they've shoved over my head. But it's not the pain that's breaking me. It's the words I keep catching through their argument. Sbagliata, wrong. Ragazza sbagliata, wrong girl. They grabbed the wrong girl. I can hear my mother's voice in my head, steady and calm the way it always is, even when the world's ending. Baby, when you panic, you die. When you think, you survive. She said that the night Marcus pulled a gun in our building lobby over $70. She said it again when we had 48 hours to come up with 3 months back rent or face eviction. She said it last month when the oncologist told us her stage 4 breast cancer had metastasized to her bones, and we had maybe 6 months if the experimental treatment didn't work. Mama's chemo appointment is at 4 o'clock. It's 3:45. I should be on the Q52 bus right now, mentally rehearsing how I'll smile and tell her everything's fine, that I'm not exhausted from working doubles at Walgreens and Giovanni's Italian restaurant, that my financial aid appeal will definitely go through, that we'll figure it out like we always do. Instead, I'm in a van with men debating my execution. Cazzo! The voice is young, panicked, barely controlled. Il capo ci ucciderà. Lei ha I capelli sbagliati. My Italian is limited to menu items from the restaurant. Pappardelle, ossobuco, tiramisu, but I catch enough. Capelli, hair. They're talking about my hair being wrong. Same height, same build, same goddamn neighborhood. This voice is older, defensive, speaking English now. How are we supposed to know in that lighting? They both got that... Gabriella Castellano ha un tatuaggio, the young one again, voice climbing toward hysteria. Una rosa sul polso. Boss said, check for the rose tattoo. Does this girl have a rose tattoo? Rough hands grab my arm, yanking so hard I feel something pop in my shoulder. I swallow the scream because I learned young that showing pain invites more of it. They shove up the sleeve of my Walgreens polo, the one with Kenya embroidered over the pocket in cheerful blue thread, and I feel their hands on my wrist, on my skin, searching for a tattoo I don't have. I can't afford tattoos, can barely afford to eat most days. My mother calls tattoos permanent mistakes on temporary bodies, says they're what people get when they have money to waste on vanity instead of survival. The silence that follows is the kind that means someone's about to die. Merda. The older voice, flat now. Final. E la ragazza sbagliata. The van jerks to a stop. I hear car doors opening, cold November air rushing in carrying the scent of pine trees and something expensive. Fresh-cut grass, the kind that means automatic sprinklers and landscaping services. Definitely not Queens anymore. They drag me out. I stumble on gravel that crunches under my worn Adidas, the ones with the sole separating that I keep meaning to superglue. Then we're moving across something smooth, marble maybe, that feels obscenely expensive even through rubber. The hood is ripped off and I'm blinking against chandelier lights so bright it feels like violence. Crystal and gold, throwing rainbow prisms across an entryway that looks like it belongs in a museum. Marble floors stretch toward a staircase that could fit my entire apartment building. Oil paintings in gilded frames line walls that probably cost more than every place I've ever lived combined. This isn't just wealth, this is legacy wealth. Old money. The kind that makes my entire existence feel like statistical noise. And standing in the center of it, backlit like some Renaissance painting come to life, is the most beautiful man I've ever seen. He looks like Caravaggio painted him. Sharp cheekbones that could draw blood. Dark eyes that assess me with the focused intensity of a predator, deciding if you're prey or threat. Black hair swept back from a face all shadows and angles and barely contained danger. The suit he's wearing probably costs more than my mother's entire experimental treatment protocol. Tattoos crawl up from his collar and curl down his forearms. Intricate, expensive ink that tells stories in a language I can't read. His hands are crossed behind his back, posture relaxed, but there's a coiled readiness in his stance that screams violence. He's objectively, devastatingly beautiful. He's also clearly about to decide whether I live or die. You're not her. Not a question. an accusation delivered in lightly accented English that makes even disappointment sound elegant. I force my voice steady despite my racing heart, despite the blood still dripping from my wrists, despite every survival instinct screaming at me to run. Growing up where I did teaches you one non-negotiable truth: never show fear. Fear is blood in the water. I don't know who you think I am, I say, lifting my chin, meeting those dark eyes, even though it feels like staring into an abyss. But I'm nobody. I work at Walgreens and Giovanni's restaurant. There's been a mistake. Yes. He steps closer with the fluid grace of something that hunts. His eyes trace my face, my brown skin, my natural curls escaping their practical bun, the crooked name tag still pinned to my chest. There has been. A costly one. Behind him, 3 men in tactical gear shift uncomfortably. The youngest one, mid-20s, nervous energy, fading bruise on his jaw, speaks rapidly in Italian. The beautiful man holds up one hand without breaking eye contact with me, and the room goes silent. That kind of power, the kind that doesn't need volume, is more terrifying than any weapon. "My name is Dante Valenti," he says, like he's introducing himself at a dinner party instead of a kidnapping scene. "And you, unfortunately, are not Gabriella Castellano, which presents us both with a significant problem." My stomach drops. Castellano. Everyone in my neighborhood knows that name. Vincent Castellano owns half the legitimate businesses in Queens, and, if the whispers are true, all the illegitimate ones. The restaurant where I work is his. The bodega where I buy groceries is his. The payday loan place that's been calling about Mama's medical debt is his. You learn young in my neighborhood. Never ask questions, never see anything, never involve yourself in Castellano business. And Gabriella Castellano, I've seen her. 3, maybe 4 times when she's come into Giovanni's to meet her father. Beautiful girl, mixed like me, with brown skin and curls that look professionally maintained in a way mine never will. We'd been confused for each other once by a delivery driver who called her Kenya before realizing his mistake. The memory feels like prophecy now, like the universe was preparing me for this exact moment. "I don't know anything about—" I start. "I believe you," Dante interrupts, his voice carrying the weight of a judge pronouncing sentence. "You have the profound misfortune of resembling someone you're not, and the worse fortune of being in the wrong parking lot at precisely the wrong time. My men were careless, sloppy." He glances at the men behind him, and the temperature drops 10 degrees. They saw a young black woman with curls and brown skin in the target neighborhood and assumed. Assumptions, he says, each word sharp as a blade, are how people die. The casual way he discusses death, my potential death, sends ice through my veins. "You could let me go." I keep my voice level. "I don't know you. I couldn't identify anyone. They wore masks. I wouldn't tell anyone anything because nobody would believe a girl from my neighborhood anyway." I swallow hard. "I just need to get to my mother's chemo appointment. She's at Jamaica Hospital, 4 o'clock. She'll panic if I don't show up." Something flickers across Dante Valenti's face, too fast to name. Surprise? Interest? Something almost human beneath the cold mask. "Your mother is ill?" he asks, and for the first time his voice carries something other than ice. "Breast cancer. Stage 4. Metastatic." The words tumble out before I can stop them, desperation cracking through my careful composure. "Today's treatment, 18 of 36, the experimental protocol. If I don't show up, if I don't call, she'll panic. And stress. Stress compromises immune response, increases cortisol, actively impedes treatment efficacy. Marco." Dante speaks sharply. The nervous young man steps forward. "Boss. Call Jamaica Hospital Medical Center, Oncology Department. Confirm appointment for—" He looks at me, waiting. "Shanice Williams," I whisper, my mother's name feeling like a betrayal on my tongue, like I'm handing him ammunition. Ensure she has transportation and that the treatment proceeds without interruption. My heart stutters. Is this mercy? Or is he just gathering information to use against me later? I can't tell, and that uncertainty is more terrifying than straightforward cruelty. "I cannot release you," Dante says quietly, stepping close enough that I can smell his cologne, cedar and something darker, expensive and foreign. "You've seen my face, my home, my men's faces. Even with masks, there are other identifying factors. And Vincent Castellano." His jaw tightens, and for just a moment I see something raw beneath the control. Hatred. deep, personal, burning hatred. Castellano is a man I cannot afford to underestimate. If he learns we targeted his daughter and caught the wrong girl, he gains leverage. But if he believes I have his daughter, he might be motivated to return what he's stolen from me. The pieces click into place, each one more horrifying than the last. So I'm bait, I say, my voice hardening despite my fear, for something I have absolutely nothing to do with. Yes, no hesitation, no apology, just brutal honesty. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong face, and I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but you belong to me now until I decide otherwise. Belong to me. The words hang in the chandelier light like a death sentence. The bedroom they lock me in is nicer than anywhere I've ever lived, which somehow makes it worse. A king-sized bed dominates the space, draped in sheets so smooth they feel like water when I touch them. Egyptian cotton, probably, the kind I've only seen in magazine spreads left in the Walgreens break room. The bathroom is all marble and gold fixtures, the kind you see in luxury hotel ads. Thick towels hang on heated racks. Designer toiletries line glass shelves, their French labels indecipherable but unmistakably expensive. Prison shouldn't smell like lavender and vanilla, shouldn't feel like silk against skin that's still bleeding from zip ties. I catalog everything with the survival instincts honed growing up in neighborhoods where awareness meant living. The windows, floor to ceiling, offering views of manicured gardens I'm not allowed to enter, are reinforced glass. I can see the subtle crosshatch pattern when afternoon light hits them at certain angles. Bulletproof, definitely escape-proof. Decorative ironwork brackets the exterior. Beautiful cages are still cages. The cameras are harder to spot, but I find them. One in the crown molding above the bed, another angled toward the bathroom door, a third positioned to capture the windows. Someone is always watching. The thought makes my skin crawl, makes me hyper-aware of every movement, every breath. I try the windows anyway because giving up without trying feels like dying before you're dead. Locked, obviously. The bathroom has a ventilation grate, but even if I could remove the screws, with what, my fingernails, the opening is barely wide enough for my arm. No weapons, no escape routes, nothing but expensive emptiness and the weight of my own trapped heartbeat. I sit on the edge of the bed, careful, like I don't deserve to fully occupy the space, and allow myself exactly 5 minutes. 5 minutes to press my palms against my eyes and feel the terror I've been holding back since the Walgreens parking lot. 5 minutes to let my shoulders shake, to taste salt on my lips, to imagine Mama alone at Jamaica Hospital wondering why her daughter hasn't called. Then I force myself to breathe, force my hands to stop trembling, force the tears back down my throat where they belong, because crying never fixed anything. Mama taught me that, working 3 jobs and never once complaining, never once breaking down where I could see, survive first, process later. I'm washing my face in that obscenely beautiful bathroom, water cold against overheated skin, when I hear the lock click. I watch my own fear in the mirror before I can mask it. Wide, dark eyes, brown skin gone ashen, natural curls falling loose from my work bun. Then I straighten, lift my chin, try to look like someone who isn't terrified. The woman who enters carries a breakfast tray and the kind of maternal warmth that feels deeply wrong in this situation. Gray hair pulled into a neat bun, soft lines around kind eyes, the sort of face that belongs in a kitchen baking cookies for grandchildren, not serving meals to kidnapping victims. "Good morning, dear." Her accent is Italian, but softened by decades in America. She sets the tray on a small table near the window. Fresh fruit, pastries that smell like butter in heaven, coffee and delicate porcelain. "You must eat. Keep your strength." My stomach growls traitorously. I haven't eaten since my lunch break yesterday. Was it only yesterday? Time feels strange, elastic and compressed simultaneously. I'm not hungry. The lie tastes bitter. Her smile is patient, knowing. Your body doesn't care about pride, Kara. Eat. How can you work for him? The question bursts out before I can stop it. How can you work for someone who kidnaps innocent people? Something flickers across her face, not quite guilt, but close. She smooths the bedspread unnecessarily, her hands needing occupation. I've worked for the Valenti family for 23 years, since Mr. Dante was a boy. I watched his father die, watched him become what he is now. Her voice drops lower, intimate and sad. In this world, nobody is innocent, Kara. Everyone survives however they can. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. She moves toward the door, then pauses. The boss, he keeps his word. Always. Every promise, every threat. Remember this. It will help you understand how to survive him. The lock clicks behind her. That small sound of captivity that I'm learning to hate more than anything. I stare at the breakfast tray. My stomach cramps with hunger. My pride insists I leave it untouched, refuse to accept anything from my captors. But pride doesn't keep you alive. Pride doesn't get you back to your dying mother. I eat the fruit first. Strawberries and melon that taste too good, too fresh, wrong in their perfection. Then a pastry that melts on my tongue. Butter and sugar and shame. I'm finishing the coffee when the lock clicks again. This time, it's the nervous young man from the kidnapping. Marco, I think Dante called him, though he looks less nervous now. Cold. Calculating. A photographer follows him, some wiry guy with professional equipment and dead eyes that have learned not to ask questions. "Boss wants proof-of-life photos," Marco says without preamble. "You'll cooperate." I set down the coffee cup carefully, my hands already starting to shake. "And if I don't?" Marco's smile is cruel, practiced. "Your mother has treatment Thursday. Would be terrible if the hospital suddenly lost funding for their experimental program. These things happen. Budgets get cut. Donations disappear. Very sad." The threat lands like a fist to my solar plexus. I feel the air leave my lungs, feel the careful control I've built start to crack. They know exactly where to press, exactly what leverage works. My mother's life for my cooperation. Not a choice. Never really a choice. Fine. The word tastes like surrender. Tell me what you want. The photographer positions me by the window, afternoon light painting my brown skin golden, making the prison look like paradise. He directs me with professional detachment. Turn here, chin up, eyes forward. Look frightened, but unharmed. Defiant, but controlled. Each click of the camera shutter feels like pieces of my dignity being stolen, archived, weaponized. Perfect, the photographer murmurs. You photograph beautifully. Such pain in the eyes. I want to claw his eyes out. Instead, I stand still and let them take their pictures and hate myself for cooperating, for being so easy to manipulate. When they finally leave, I'm alone again with my rage and my helplessness and the growing certainty that I'll do whatever they ask. Because the alternative, Mama dying, is unthinkable. Hours pass. The light shifts from afternoon gold to evening amber. I pace my cage, measuring it in steps. 17 from window to door, 9 from bed to bathroom. Like knowing its dimensions might somehow make it smaller, more manageable. I'm sitting on the floor, back against the bed, knees pulled to chest, when the lock clicks one more time. Dante Valenti enters carrying a dinner tray himself, which surprises me enough that I forget to school my expression. He wears different clothes, black slacks and a charcoal sweater that looks expensive enough to cover a semester's tuition, but the same controlled elegance, the same predatory grace. "You haven't eaten since breakfast." Not a question. Statement of fact. He knows everything, apparently. "Starving myself helps no one," he continues, setting the tray down. The scent of pasta and herbs fills the room. Least of all your mother. The mention of Mama sends fresh rage through my veins. Don't talk about her. You don't get to use her name. She's the only reason you're cooperating. He settles into the chair across from me with fluid ease, all sharp angles and contained power. Of course I'm going to talk about her. What do you want? My voice comes out harder than intended. To explain the plan. Eat while I talk. You'll need your strength. What plan? I don't move toward the food. The one where you use me as bait because your men can't tell black women apart? His jaw tightens fractionally, the first crack in his composure. The plan where I recover what Vincent Castellano stole from my family. $4 million he took through fraud and murder. Money that's owed. Your leverage to get it back. I'm not Gabriella Castellano. No, but in photographs with the right angles you could be. He gestures toward the tray. Eat while I explain. I want to refuse, but the food smells incredible, and I'm tired of being hungry on top of everything else. I pull the tray closer, keep my eyes on the pasta instead of him. I sent the photos to Castellano, Dante continues, voice low and measured, with a ransom demand. Return the $4 million plus interest, get his daughter back unharmed. Simple transaction. And when he realizes I'm not her, he won't. Not from photographs. Not until it's too late. Dante leans forward slightly, and I feel the weight of his attention like physical touch. You'll stay here until he pays. Then you're released. Your mother's treatment continues uninterrupted. You return to your life. Everyone gets what they want. I want to not be kidnapped. Unfortunately, that particular option expired in a Walgreens parking lot. No apology in his tone, just fact. Now we work with the situation we have. I finally look at him directly, meet those dark eyes that seem to see too much. Your men grabbed me because to them, all young black women look the same. Just say it. Your operation failed because your men are racist and sloppy. I watch him process the accusation, watch something almost like shame flicker across his features before he controls it. My men made assumptions based on incomplete intelligence, he says carefully. They saw similar features, your skin tone, your build, your hair texture, and didn't do proper verification. It was unacceptable. You mean they're racist? Yes. The word comes out sharp, almost angry. They assumed they were sloppy. They've been disciplined. My stomach twists. Disciplined how? Did you kill them? For the mistake that landed me here? Dante's expression goes carefully blank. In my world, failure has consequences. That's all you need to know. The silence that follows is heavy with implications I don't want to examine. Men might be dead because they grabbed the wrong black girl. The violence is spreading, rippling outward from that initial mistake. I know everything about you, Dante says after a moment, his voice softer now, which somehow makes it worse. Kenya Williams, 23, 2 jobs, Walgreens and Giovanni's restaurant. Hunter College student, pre-med program, 3.9 GPA until you had to withdraw this semester because your mother's cancer treatments depleted your savings. Shanice Williams, 51, breast cancer stage 4, metastatic to bone, current treatment failing, you're drowning in debt. No other family, no backup plan. Each fact lands like a small betrayal. He's dissected my entire life, knows all my vulnerabilities, all my pressure points. Here's my offer. His voice drops lower, dangerously gentle. I'll pay for your mother's treatment, all of it. Experimental therapy at Memorial Sloan Kettering, best oncologists in the country, no expense spared, real chance at survival. Hope flares in my chest, vicious and unwanted. In exchange for what? Cooperation. No escape attempts, no drama. Help me recover my money from Castellano, and your mother lives. His eyes hold mine, dark and unreadable. Fight me. Make this difficult, and... He doesn't finish the sentence, doesn't need to. My hands tremble around the fork. That's not a choice. That's blackmail. I prefer incentivized cooperation. His smile is cold and beautiful. But call it what you want. Your answer? I want to throw the food in his face. Want to scream that I'll never cooperate, that he can go to hell. But Mama's face rises in my mind. Shanice smiling through pain, working herself to exhaustion for my education, never once complaining about the unfairness of a body that turned against her. You're a bastard, I whisper. Yes. Do we have a deal? I don't have a choice. Everyone has choices. You're choosing your mother's life over your principles. That's not weakness. He stands, moves toward the door. That's love. The lock clicks behind him. I sit in the golden evening light and finish the pasta because wasting food feels wrong even now. It tastes like ash and compromise, like the moment I stopped being purely victim and became something more complicated. Accomplice, survivor, daughter who'd do anything to save her mother, even if it meant working with the devil himself. By day 7, I've memorized every inch of my prison and started memorizing my captor instead. They let me move more freely now. Bedroom to dining room to library, always with guards trailing at respectful distance. I learned their names through eavesdropping. Marco, who watches me with undisguised hostility. Luca, older and quieter, who nods politely when I pass. Alessandro, scarred and efficient, who treats me like a package to be delivered intact. I study them all, catalog their patterns with survival instincts honed in neighborhoods where awareness meant safety. Notice everything. Trust nothing. Find advantages where you can. But it's Dante I find myself watching most, and that terrifies me more than the kidnapping itself. He works in his study until 3 a.m. I can see the light under his door when I can't sleep, which is most nights. He drinks a single espresso at dawn, standing at the kitchen window, looking out at gardens I'm not allowed to enter. He touches books like prayer, fingers gentle on leather spines, lingering on certain titles as if they hold answers to questions he can't articulate. He's beautiful in the way dangerous things often are. Beautiful like knives, like storms, like the Caravaggio paintings I studied in my previous life before medical bills consumed everything. All darkness and light and violence barely contained. I hate that I notice. The library becomes my refuge because it's the one space that feels almost honest. Floor-to-ceiling shelves lined with rare volumes, Italian literature, art history, philosophy, first editions and manuscripts I've only seen in academic databases. A collection that speaks of genuine passion, not just wealth. I find him there past midnight on my 8th night, unable to sleep, wandering under Alessandro's watchful escort. Dante sits in a leather chair beneath warm lamplight, reading Machiavelli in the original Italian, his dark hair slightly disheveled like he's been running his fingers through it. Il Principe, I hear myself say, despite my intention to stay silent. Fitting reading for a tyrant. His lips curve slightly. Machiavelli understood that morality is a luxury of the safe. The endangered must be practical. He gestures to the chair across from him. Sit. Alessandro, leave us. The guard hesitates, then obeys. The door clicks shut, and I'm suddenly intensely aware that I'm alone with Dante Valenti for the first time since he established my captivity. I sit because standing feels like showing fear. Cross my arms because I need the barrier. You can't sleep either, Dante observes. Hard to sleep when you're being held prisoner. Is that what keeps you awake? Or is it the guilt? His dark eyes hold mine, seeing too much. You're cooperating. That must weigh on your conscience. My jaw tightens. You're blackmailing me with my mother's life. Don't pretend I have a choice. You always have choices. You're choosing survival. There's no shame in that. Easy for you to say. You're not the one in a cage. Dante sets down his book carefully. We're all in cages, Kenya. Mine just has better furniture. He gestures to the library surrounding us. These books, they're my prison too. All this knowledge about justice and honor, and I've broken every principle they teach. That's not the same, isn't it? He leans forward slightly. Tell me, do you know Caravaggio's work? The subject change is disorienting. I'm a pre-med student with an art history minor. Of course I know Caravaggio. The Taking of Christ. What do you see in it? I find myself answering despite my better judgment, drawn into the familiar territory of art analysis. Violence and divinity existing in the same moment. Judas betraying Christ with a kiss. Intimacy and destruction intertwined. I pause. Caravaggio painted himself into the scene, holding the lantern, the only source of light in all that darkness, the artist witnessing his own subject's destruction, making himself complicit by observing. Yes. Dante's voice carries something like reverence. He understood that witnessing violence implicates us. There are no innocent observers. Or maybe, I say quietly, he understood that we're all complicit in something. That survival requires compromise. The silence that follows feels weighted, charged with something I don't want to name. You understand more than I expected, Dante says finally. Your neighborhood? It was violent? Violence looks different in mansions than projects. I meet his gaze. But it's still violence. You're just better dressed while you do it. Something flickers across his face. Respect, perhaps. You're not afraid of me anymore. I'm terrified of you, I correct. But fear and silence are different things. This time Dante does smile, brief and genuine, transforming his features into something almost kind. Good. I prefer honest enemies to false friends. A knock interrupts the moment. Marco enters without waiting for permission, his face tight with barely controlled anger. Boss? Castellano responded, refuses to pay, says his daughter is safe with him, calls the photos fake. I watch Dante process this, watch fury flash across his features before he controls it. He's calling the bluff because it is a bluff, Marco continues, voice sharp. We have the wrong girl. This plan is dead. We should cut losses and what? I hear myself ask. Kill me? Marco's silence is answer enough. No one touches her, Dante says quietly, but there's steel beneath the calm. She's under my protection. Anyone who harms her answers to me personally. That includes you, Marco. Marco leaves, but his hostility lingers like smoke in the air. He wants me dead, I whisper. Don't worry about Marco. Dante stands, pours himself whiskey from a crystal decanter. He's loyal to me. Then what happens now? Castellano knows you have the wrong woman. I recalibrate. Tell him we know we have the wrong girl, but that innocent blood is on. His hands if he doesn't return what he stole. Moral leverage instead of paternal. He takes a slow sip, dark eyes finding mine over the glass rim. Unless he forces my hand, my stomach drops. Would you hurt me to make a point to him? The pause stretches so long I think he won't answer. Then, I don't know. I hope I won't have to find out. The honesty is somehow worse than lies would have been. 7 days ago, you were just my kidnapper, I whisper. Now you're complicated, and I don't know which is more dangerous. Complicated is always more dangerous. Dante's smile is sad. Simple monsters are easy to hate. I stand, needing distance, needing air that doesn't smell like cedar and whiskey and the dangerous warmth growing between us. I should go back to my room. Kenya, you're still holding me prisoner. I cut him off. Philosophy discussions don't change that. I flee before he can respond, before I can acknowledge that I'd been more alive in that library than I'd felt in months, and that realization is more terrifying than anything else in this beautiful prison. The next morning, everything changes. I'm eating breakfast, fresh pastries and fruit that taste like guilt, when Dante enters the dining room with purposeful stride. He's dressed for business. Charcoal suit, crisp white shirt, the armor of legitimacy over the reality of violence. "Come with me," he says without preamble. "I want to show you something." I follow because I don't have a choice, but also because curiosity has become its own kind of captivity. He leads me to his study, a room I haven't been allowed to enter before. Dark wood paneling, more books, a massive desk covered in papers and laptop screens showing financial spreadsheets. But it's the filing cabinet in the corner that he opens, pulling out a thick folder labeled Castellano. "I need you to understand something," Dante says, spreading documents across his desk, about who Vincent Castellano really is. The first documents are financial records, money laundering, racketeering, numbers that make my head spin. Then surveillance photos of Vincent Castellano, a man in his 50s, steel gray hair, expensive suits, cold eyes. Then I find the photographs that change everything. Gabriella Castellano in candid moments. At first, just surveillance, but patterns emerge. Makeup concealing bruises, sunglasses hiding black eyes, long sleeves in summer covering finger-shaped marks on her arms. Her father's hand gripping her wrist hard enough to leave welts. Medical records follow. Emergency room visits spanning 6 years. Fell downstairs. Walked into door. The excuses that mean abuse, that scream the truth everyone ignores. My hands shake as I flip through page after page of documented violence. "You were going to use her anyway," I say, voice hollow, even knowing this. "I was going to take her from him." Dante's voice is steady. "Get her away from Castellano. Sometimes rescue looks like kidnapping when you don't have time to ask permission." That's a rationalization. It's the truth. He moves closer, not touching, but near enough that I can feel his body heat. "I'm a monster, Kenya. I've done monstrous things, but I'm not the kind who'd deliver a woman back to her abuser. I was going to offer Gabriella a choice. Return to her father, or take money and protection and disappear. Start over somewhere he can't find her." I process this. The kidnapping reimagined as rescue mission. Nothing is simple in your world. No. His hand lifts like he might touch my face, then falls. Yes, I wanted my money back. Yes, I wanted Castellano to suffer. But I also saw the bruises, saw a woman trapped the same way my mother was trapped before my father saved her. His voice roughens. So yes, I was going to use her and save her. Both are true. "Your father," I say, remembering fragments of conversation. "What happened to him?" Dante pulls another file. Crime scene photos that make my stomach heave. A restaurant interior, white tablecloth soaked red. Antonio Valenti, dead in a pool of his own blood. "My father was an art dealer," Dante says quietly. "Legitimate business, clean reputation. Castellano approached him about partnership, using the gallery to launder money. Antonio refused, said he'd built something honest and wouldn't corrupt it." His jaw tightens. "So Castellano killed him. Execution style, in front of me. I was 19. I see it then. A boy watching his father die, making promises he'd spend 15 years keeping. You built the organization from nothing. from rage and grief. He looks at me with something raw in his eyes. Antonio Valenti was a good man who died for refusing to be corrupt. His son became exactly what he'd rejected to get revenge. The weight of that confession sits between us. "But you asked me something in the library," Dante continues. "If I'd hurt you to make a point to Castellano, I know the answer now." He takes my hand, thumb tracing the faded marks on my wrist where zip ties cut skin. "I wouldn't. I'd let Castellano keep everything, the money, his freedom, all of it, before I'd let him touch you." My breath catches. That's choosing me over revenge. Yes. Why? Because you're the first truly good thing I've touched in 15 years. Because you look at me and see something worth saving. His fingers tighten on mine. Because when I'm with you, I remember what it felt like to be human. I should pull away. Should remember that this man kidnapped me, threatened my mother, has blood on his hands. But his touch is gentle, and his eyes hold something desperate and honest. What if, I hear myself whisper, we helped her, the real Gabriella? What if instead of using her, we got her away from him? No leverage, no schemes, just help. Dante stares like I've spoken a language he doesn't understand. That doesn't get my money back. No, but it's the right thing to do. I step closer. Your father chose integrity over profit. Maybe honoring him isn't revenge. Maybe it's becoming the kind of man who helps women escape violence instead of using them. Something breaks in his expression. War happening behind those dark eyes. "If I do this," he says slowly, "I lose everything. Castellano keeps my money. My father's death goes unavenged. Or everything you've built becomes foundation for something better." I squeeze his hand. Choose to be better than him. "You're going to ruin me," he whispers, "or save you, depending on perspective." He pulls me close, forehead pressed to mine, breathing like he's been drowning and finally found air. "Tomorrow we rescue Gabriella," he says. "No ransom, no revenge. Just help her because it's right." And in that moment, something shifts between us, from captor and captive to something more complicated, more dangerous. Partners. The warehouse district smells like rain and violence waiting to happen. I sit in the back of Dante's Mercedes, hands steady despite the fear coiling through my stomach, watching the city transform into something more honest. Here, away from Manhattan's polished veneer, you can see the bones of things, the raw structures that hold up the pretty facades. Like Dante himself, beautiful surface, brutal foundation, and somewhere between them, the complicated truth. "You don't have to do this," Dante says quietly, eyes meeting mine in the rearview mirror. Alessandro is driving, silent and efficient. Marco and 2 other men follow in a second vehicle, a small army for what's supposed to be a negotiation. "I can still send you back to the estate, keep you safe." Safe doesn't help Gabriella. I straighten my shoulders, adjust the elegant black dress that feels too much like armor and not enough like protection. If Castellano sees me, sees that I'm cooperating, maybe he believes you're serious about the exchange. Maybe that buys us leverage for what comes after. What comes after being the real plan. Gabriella's rescue that will happen regardless of tonight's outcome. Dante has people watching Castellano's Manhattan penthouse, has identified patterns in Gabriella's security detail, has found the weaknesses in her father's carefully constructed cage. Tomorrow, they'll exploit those weaknesses. Tonight is just performance, making Castellano believe the game is still in play. The car pulls into the designated meeting spot, an abandoned warehouse that once processed shipping containers, now home to rats and occasional drug deals. Neutral ground, they'd called it. But I've learned enough about Dante's world to know there's no such thing as neutral. There's only territory you control and territory you invade. The question is which this will be. We exit into cold November air that tastes like metal and old rain. My heels click against concrete too loud, announcing my presence. Dante moves beside me with that predatory grace I've come to recognize, balanced on the balls of his feet, ready to react to threat from any direction. His hand finds the small of my back, guiding me forward. The touch is proprietary and protective both, sending heat through my spine despite the circumstances, or maybe because of them. Danger and desire have become tangled together somewhere in the past 2 weeks. The warehouse interior is vast and empty, our footsteps echoing off metal walls. Industrial lighting casts harsh shadows. Castellano's men are already in position. I count 6 visible, probably more hidden in the shipping containers lining the walls. Their hands rest near weapons, fingers twitching with barely controlled aggression. This isn't a negotiation, it's a powder keg waiting for a spark. Vincent Castellano stands in the center of the space, backlit like a villain in a Renaissance painting. He's older than his photographs suggested, steel gray hair and a face that had once been handsome but has been weathered by cruelty into something harder. He wears a Brioni suit I recognize from cataloging enough high-end wardrobes and moves with the confidence of a man who's never faced consequences for his actions, a man who's killed fathers and beaten daughters and called it business as usual. I feel Dante tense beside me as their eyes meet across the warehouse. 15 years of hatred compressed into a single look, dense enough to collapse into violence. Valenti! Castellano's voice carries that particular Italian-American accent that speaks to generations in New York. You asked for a meeting. Here I am. And you brought an army. Dante's tone is mild, but I feel the coiled readiness in his body. Not very trusting. Neither are you. Castellano's eyes slide to me, assessing with the cold calculation of a man pricing property. This is her. The girl you claim is my daughter. This is Kenya Williams, Dante says, and I feel a flash of surprise that he used my real name. Not claiming I'm Gabriella, not maintaining the fiction, just offering truth. The woman my men took by mistake when they were looking for your daughter. Similar build, similar features. In poor lighting, easy to confuse. I watch Castellano's expression shift, confusion replacing certainty. He'd been expecting confirmation that his daughter was captive. Instead, Dante just admitted to kidnapping the wrong woman entirely. Truth is weapon, a strange strategy. Then you have nothing I want, Castellano says slowly. I have evidence. Dante gestures to Alessandro, who steps forward with a laptop. 15 years of documentation on your operation. Money laundering, racketeering, human trafficking, names, dates, bank accounts, everything the FBI would need to dismantle your entire organization. You'd go to the feds? Castellano's voice drips contempt. You'd break Omerta over money? I'd burn everything down to punish you for killing my father. Dante's voice is cold enough to freeze blood. Antonio Valenti was a good man, an innocent man. You murdered him for refusing to be corrupt. That debt comes due tonight. Return the $4 million you stole through your fraud, or I hand this evidence to federal prosecutors and watch your empire crumble. The warehouse fills with the kind of silence that precedes violence. I feel it building, feel the men on both sides preparing for the inevitable. I didn't steal anything from you, Castellano says finally. Your accusations are fantasies. Then let's discuss your daughter instead. Dante's tone shifts, becomes something sharper. Gabriella, how is she? Castellano's face goes carefully blank. My daughter is none of your concern. I disagree. Dante pulls photographs from his jacket, copies of what I'd found in the files, and lets them fall to the concrete floor. Gabriella's bruises captured in unforgiving detail. I have medical records, emergency room visits, 6 years of documented abuse. You beat your daughter regularly. Fracture ribs, dislocate shoulders, leave bruises she covers with makeup and long sleeves. Color floods Castellano's face, rage replacing calculation. You know nothing about my family. I know everything about your family. Dante's voice drops lower. I was going to kidnap her, use her for ransom, but then I saw these photographs and I realized I'm not negotiating for money anymore. I'm rescuing your daughter, not for leverage, because someone needs to. The words hang in the cold air, a declaration that shifts the entire confrontation's foundation. You think you're a hero? Castellano's laugh is ugly. You kidnap innocent women and call it rescue. No, I think I'm a man trying to be slightly less terrible than I was yesterday. Dante's hand finds my back again. You can keep the money, keep your operation, keep everything. But Gabriella leaves tonight, voluntarily, with protection and resources to build a new life away from you. She'll never agree to that, Castellano says. She's loyal. She's terrified. I find my voice stepping forward despite Dante's attempt to keep me behind him. I've seen the photos, the medical records. That's not loyalty. That's survival. You're mistaking her fear for love because it's convenient. Castellano's eyes fix on me with predatory focus. You're the wrong girl. You mean nothing in this. I recognize abuse when I see it. I lift my chin, channeling my mother's steel. I grew up around violence, too. Different circumstances, same result. Powerful men hurting people they're supposed to protect. You don't get to define what matters here. Gabriella matters, and we're taking her out of your reach. The silence that follows feels like the pause before an explosion. Then Castellano smiles. Cold, calculated. You're walking into an ambush. You realize that? The words are barely out before I hear movement behind the shipping containers. Bootsteps, weapons being readied, the unmistakable sound of a trap springing shut. I don't think. Just move. Grabbing Dante's arm and pulling him sideways as gunfire erupts from 3 directions at once. The warehouse explodes into chaos. Bullets ricochet off metal with sounds like angry wasps, sparking where they hit machinery. Dante flips a nearby table, old scarred wood that won't stop much but provides illusion of cover. I hit concrete hard, hands over my head, tasting dust and fear. Around me, shouting in Italian and English, the percussion of gunfire, breaking glass. Alessandro returns fire with cold precision, dropping one of Castellano's men before diving behind a support pillar. Marco goes down. I see blood spreading dark across his shirt, see him fall and not get up. The violence is nothing like movies. It's faster, louder, more chaotic. 90 seconds that feel like hours compressed to the sound of my racing heartbeat and the weight of Dante's body half covering mine, shielding me from the crossfire. Then, as suddenly as it started, silence falls, heavy, weighted with guns and death. I lift my head slowly, ears ringing, bodies on the ground. I count 4 of Castellano's men, 2 of Dante's. Marco isn't moving. Another guard clutches a shoulder wound, blood seeping between his fingers. Alessandro has taken a bullet but is still standing, his face gray with pain and rage. And Castellano, gone, fled during the chaos like the coward he is, leaving his men to die for his violence. Dante pulls me up with hands that shake slightly. The first time I've seen him show physical reaction to fear. His fingers trace my face, my arms checking for wounds with the desperation of a man who just faced losing something invaluable. Are you hurt? His voice is rough, barely controlled. No. You? I'm fine. But his forehead drops to touch mine just for a moment, an intimacy more profound than any kiss. You saved my life. You saw the ambush before I did. My hands fist in his jacket, kneading the anchor of solid warmth. Your men... I know. Dante straightens, the vulnerable moment passing as duty reasserts itself. He moves to Marco first, checking for pulse and finding none. His jaw tightens, but his voice stays steady when he speaks to Alessandro. Get the wounded to the car. Call Dr. Russo. We need to move before police arrive. Castellano will retaliate, Alessandro warns. I know. That's why we get Gabriella tonight. Before he can reinforce security or move her. Dante turns to me. We do this now, our only window. I nod, adrenaline still singing through my veins. What do you need me to do? Come with me. Help convince her to trust us. His hand finds mine, squeezing once. Partners. Partners, I agree, and mean it. We leave the warehouse behind. The bodies, the blood, the evidence of violence that will haunt my dreams. But we drive with purpose toward Manhattan's gleaming towers where another woman waits in a different kind of cage, waiting for rescue she doesn't know is coming. In the car, my hands finally start shaking, delayed reaction to how close death had been. Dante notices, covers my trembling fingers with his steady ones. You're in shock, he says quietly. I watched men die. I know, I'm sorry. Stop apologizing for your world. I find strength in anger. You didn't ask me to be here, but I am. And if I'm in this, if I'm your partner, then you don't get to shelter me from consequences. I see it, all of it, the beauty and the blood. Something shifts in Dante's expression. Respect, maybe. Recognition that I'm not the same woman who'd been zip-tied in a van 2 weeks ago. All right, he says simply. No more sheltering. We do this together. Save Gabriella. Face whatever comes after. Build something new from the ruins. I look out at the city lights streaming past. New York in all its complicated glory. Beautiful and brutal, where dreams and nightmares occupy the same crowded streets. What if she doesn't want to be saved? I ask. Then we give her the choice. Real choice. And accept whatever she decides. Dante's thumb traces circles on my wrist, just above where the zip tie scars have finally faded. That's what makes us different from Castellano. We offer freedom. He only knows control. The penthouse building rises before us, glass and steel reaching toward a sky too light polluted for stars. Inside, Gabriella Castellano lives in luxury that doubles as prison, surrounded by wealth that can't buy safety from the violence closest to home. I think about my own journey from Walgreens parking lot to warehouse shootout and wonder if Gabriella's will follow similar curves. If salvation could look like kidnapping when you had no other way out, we're about to find out. The penthouse lobby is all marble and modern art, the kind of aggressive luxury that insists on its own importance. I feel out of place in my blood-flecked dress, adrenaline still making my movements too sharp, too quick. But Dante moves through the space with absolute confidence, nodding to the doorman like he belongs here. "Service entrance," he murmurs. "Security's lighter on that side. Alessandro disabled the cameras remotely." We bypass the main elevators, slipping into a maintenance corridor that smells like cleaning chemicals and old concrete. Here, away from the lobby's performative elegance, the building shows its bones: utilitarian, honest, functional. My heart hammers as we climb service stairs, each floor bringing us closer to confrontation or rescue, or both. Dante moves like smoke, silent despite his size. Behind us, Alessandro and Luca follow, armed and ready for violence if it comes. 23rd floor. The service entrance to Gabriella's penthouse is locked, but Luca makes quick work of it with tools I don't examine too closely. We enter into a kitchen that looks like a showroom. Pristine, unused, decorative, rather than functional. Gabriella's bedroom is down the main hall, Dante whispers. 2 guards rotate outside her door. We neutralize them quietly. I watch Alessandro and Luca move with practiced efficiency. Pressure points, sleeper holds, violence that doesn't kill but incapacitates. The guards go down without sound, beyond soft impacts against expensive flooring. "Stay here," Dante says, hand already on Gabriella's bedroom door. "No," I push past him. "She needs to see a woman first. Trust a woman. You're just another man with power telling her what to do." Dante's jaw tightens, but he nods, steps back, lets me take lead. I knock softly. "Gabriella, my name is Kenya Williams. I need to talk to you. It's about your father." Silence. Then barely audible. "Go away." "I can't do that. Please, I'm here to help." Everyone says that. Her voice carries the flatness of someone who's stopped believing in help, right before they hurt me. My chest tightens. I know that tone. "Your father isn't here. He's across town dealing with a situation. We have maybe 20 minutes before his men realize something's wrong. I'm asking you to open this door and listen. That's all. Just listen." Another pause. Then locks turning. 3 of them, each one its own small prison. The door opens a crack and I see a face that could have been my own reflection if genetics had shifted slightly. Brown skin, natural curls, dark eyes filled with weariness that comes from years of surviving what shouldn't have to be survived. Gabriella is beautiful in the way survivors often are, hollowed out by pain but still standing, still breathing, still hoping despite every reason not to. "You're the wrong girl," she whispers, staring at me. "The one Valenti's men took instead of me." "Yes, and now I'm here because I saw your medical records. I know what your father does to you." I keep my voice gentle but firm. "I'm here to offer you a choice. Stay with him or leave right now, tonight, with protection and money and everything you need to disappear." Gabriella's laugh is bitter. "Why? Why would you, a stranger, risk anything for me?" "Because someone showed me that people can choose to be better than their worst impulses." I glance back at Dante, standing in the shadows, letting me lead. "Because I understand what it's like to be someone's possession, and because you deserve better than a father who beats you." Gabriella's eyes fill with tears. She doesn't let fall. Years of practice holding them back. If I leave, he'll come after me. He has resources. So do we. Dante steps forward, careful to keep distance, to not crowd or threaten. "Miss Castellano, I'm Dante Valenti. Your father killed mine 15 years ago. I was going to use you for revenge. But Kenya taught me that revenge is just another form of violence. So instead, I'm offering you freedom. New identity, new city, financial support. Help building whatever life you want away from him." Gabriella stares at him, like he's speaking a language she doesn't understand. "You're just going to let me go. No strings." "One string," Dante says honestly. "If you choose to testify against your father's criminal operation, we can help ensure he never hurts anyone again. But that's your choice. You can walk away entirely if that's what you need. We're not holding your freedom hostage." I step forward, taking Gabriella's hands in mine. I know it's terrifying. I know trusting feels impossible. But look at my wrists. I turn my hands over, showing the faint lines where zip ties cut skin 2 weeks ago. These are from when Dante's men kidnapped me. I have every reason to hate him, but people are complicated. They can do terrible things and still choose to change. He's choosing to help you because it's right. Let him. Gabriella's fingers trace the scars, reading violence in my skin like Braille. You stayed with him after he did this. It's complicated, but yes, I stayed. I saw him become someone different, someone better. I squeeze her hands. And if that's possible for him, it's possible for you, too. You can become someone new. Tears finally spill down Gabriella's cheeks. I don't know who I am without the fear. Then let's find out together. I pull her close. We have maybe 15 minutes. Pack what matters. Documents, photos, things you can't replace, clothes we can buy, freedom we can't. Gabriella nods slowly, then with growing certainty. She moves into her room, pulling out a travel bag, filling it with methodical efficiency that speaks to someone who's fantasized about running many times before. Documents from a safe. Jewelry that looks sentimental rather than expensive. A photograph of a woman who must have been her mother, smiling in a way that suggests the photo is old, from before. She died when I was 13, Gabriella says quietly. Cancer. After that, my father changed. Or maybe he was always this way and she protected me from seeing it. Either way, I say softly, you're not his responsibility anymore. You're your own. We move quickly after that. Down the service stairs, through the loading dock, into waiting cars that take us to a safe house Dante owns in New Jersey. Gabriella sits between Dante and me, looking shell-shocked, occasionally touching her own face like she needs to confirm she's real, that this is happening. He'll retaliate, she says as we drive through the Lincoln Tunnel. When he realizes I'm gone, he'll be furious. Let him be, Dante's voice is steel. He's lost his power over you. Anything he does now is just empty violence, and I'll make sure you're protected from it. Gabriella turns to look at him. Really look at him. Why does my freedom matter to you? Because my father taught me that protecting the vulnerable was the only real power worth having. Dante's eyes meet mine across Gabriella's head. And because the woman I love showed me what it looks like to choose righteousness over revenge. My breath catches. He said it. Named the thing between us. Made it real with words that can't be taken back. Gabriella looks between us, understanding dawning. You love your kidnapper. I love the man he became after, I say steadily. There's a difference. 3 months later, I stand in the Hunter College Registrar's office, re-enrolling in my pre-med program. Mama's cancer is in remission. The experimental treatment Dante funded worked beyond anyone's expectations. She's gaining weight, her hair is growing back, and yesterday she walked 3 miles without getting winded. Gabriella is living in Portland under a new name, working at an art gallery, building a life that's entirely hers. She testified against her father. Vincent Castellano is awaiting trial on multiple charges: racketeering, money laundering, assault. The evidence Dante provided, combined with Gabriella's testimony, will likely put him away for life. And Dante faced consequences too. He pled guilty to kidnapping, accepted a deal. 2 years suspended sentence, 500 hours of community service, full restitution paid to both Gabriella and me, permanent supervision by federal authorities. It was mercy. It was justice. It was the compromise that let him stay free while acknowledging what he'd done. Agent Moreno had been clear. He's getting off light because he cooperated, because he helped us take down Castellano, because his victim is advocating for him. Don't waste this second chance. I find Dante waiting outside the registrar's office, leaning against a wall with that same predatory grace, though something's different now, softer. Like the sharp edges have been filed down by accountability and therapy and the daily work of becoming someone new. How did it go? He asks. I'm officially a student again. Full scholarship. Financial aid approved. I can't stop smiling. Spring semester, I'll be back in classes. That's incredible. He pulls me close, pressing a kiss to my forehead. I'm proud of you. We walk through campus together, my hand in his, and it feels surreal. 2 people who met in the worst possible way, choosing each other freely now, building something new from ashes. I have something to show you, Dante says, leading me toward his car. A surprise. 20 minutes later, we're standing in front of a small gallery in Brooklyn. The sign reads, Valenti Arts Foundation, free community art classes. You did this? I stare at the space, bright and welcoming, filled with easels and supplies, walls covered in student artwork. We did this, Dante corrects. You said I should honor my father by becoming the man he wanted me to be. Antonio believed art saved lives, that beauty mattered even in broken places, especially in broken places. So I'm using what I have, the connections, the resources, the collection, to teach kids from neighborhoods like yours that there's more than violence, that they can create instead of destroy. My eyes burn with tears. This is beautiful. It's a start. He wraps his arms around me from behind, chin resting on my shoulder. Redemption isn't one big gesture. It's 1,000 small choices to be better than you were yesterday. I turn in his arms, looking up at the man who kidnapped me and somehow became the person I love most in this world. Agent Moreno still thinks I'm making a mistake, that I'm confusing trauma for love. Maybe she's right to worry, Dante says honestly. Power dynamics were completely imbalanced. I had all the control. You had none. Had. Past tense. Yes. His thumb traces my cheekbone, that gesture that's become ours. Now you have your degree path, your independence. Your mother's healthy. You could walk away right now and I'd accept it. What if I don't want to walk away? Then I'd ask what you do want. I rise on my toes, pressing my lips to his. The kiss is soft, sweet, nothing like the desperate passion of our first kiss 3 months ago when everything was still chaos and gunfire and impossible choices. This kiss tastes like choice, like freedom, like building something real from the most broken beginning. I want this, I whisper against his mouth. Us, the foundation, the life we're building. I want to prove that people can change, that love can grow from darkness if we're brave enough to nurture it. Even knowing what I did, who I was, especially knowing that. I pull back, meeting his eyes. Because if you can become someone better, if we can build something beautiful from kidnapping and violence and moral compromise, then maybe there's hope for all of us. Maybe redemption is always possible if we're willing to do the work. Dante's eyes shine with something that might be tears. I love you, Kenya Williams. Every day I'll work to deserve that. You already do. I kiss him again, tasting salt and promise and the complicated truth that some love stories defy easy categorization. 6 months later, Mama walks me down the aisle. It's a small wedding. Gabriella flew in from Portland. Agent Moreno came despite her reservations. A handful of friends from Hunter and the Foundation. We marry in the same Brooklyn gallery where Dante teaches kids to paint, surrounded by art created from pain, transformed into beauty. You sure about this, baby? Mama asks as we wait for the music to start. It's not too late to change your mind. I'm sure, Mama. I love him. I know you do. She squeezes my hand. Just promise me you'll never lose yourself in loving him. Promise me you'll stay. Kenya. Strong, brilliant, stubborn Kenya, who survived everything life threw at her. I promise. The music starts. We walk toward Dante, who stands at the altar looking like he still can't believe this is real, that I chose him freely, that we survived our impossible beginning to arrive here. I think about my journey. From Walgreens parking lot to zip ties to gilded cage to warehouse shootout to this moment. Every step necessary, every choice leading here. They said you couldn't love your kidnapper, said it was Stockholm Syndrome, trauma bonding, a dozen clinical terms for feelings that couldn't be real. Maybe they were right. Maybe we're both still broken in ways we don't fully understand. Maybe this love grew from compromise and captivity and moral complexity that can't be neatly resolved. But maybe love is always complicated. Maybe it's always built from imperfect materials by imperfect people, trying their best to create something beautiful. Dante takes my hand as I reach the altar. His touch is gentle, reverent. Nothing like those first moments when violence and fear defined everything between us. Ready? He whispers. Ready? I whisper back. We say our vows surrounded by art created from pain. We promise to choose each other every day, to build beauty from our broken beginning, to prove that redemption is possible if you're brave enough to reach for it. When Dante kisses me, I taste coffee and promise, and the future we're creating together. A future built on honesty and accountability and the radical choice to love someone despite, or maybe because of, seeing them at their absolute worst. The reception spills into the street, music and laughter filling the Brooklyn evening. Gabriella toasts us with tears in her eyes, thanking us for giving her the freedom to find herself. Mama dances with Dante, extracting promises that he'll continue therapy, continue the community service, continue choosing to be better every single day. Agent Moreno pulls me aside near the end of the night. I still think you're taking a risk. I know. But I also see that he's trying. Really trying. She glances at Dante, who's helping clean up, laughing with kids from the foundation. Just don't let love make you forget what happened. Remember the truth, all of it. And the moment he stops being worthy. You'll put him away yourself, I know. I smile. But I don't think you'll need to. As the party winds down, Dante and I stand on the gallery steps, looking out at Brooklyn's glittering lights. New York in all its complicated glory, the city that witnessed our darkest moments and our brightest hopes. What are you thinking? Dante asks, arm around my waist. That I was the wrong girl, I say honestly. Kidnapped by mistake because violent men thought brown women with curls all looked the same. And now? Now I'm exactly the right woman. For myself, for my choices, for building something beautiful from the most broken beginning. I turn in his arms, rising to kiss him softly. I'm choosing this, Dante, every day. Not because I have to, because I want to. Even knowing everything? Especially knowing everything. I rest my forehead against his. You did something unforgivable, and you changed. Both are true, and I'm choosing to love you anyway, not despite the complexity, but accepting all of it. We stand there as the city hums around us. Two people who found each other in the worst possible way and chose each other freely in the end. Our love story isn't simple. It's messy, complicated, built from ashes and accountability and the radical belief that people can become more than their worst moments. But it's ours, and that's enough.